good morning. Welcome to day 7 of week 28. It feels earlier than it is. It's about 8:30. But it's a very misty day, and that's coming out rather nicely on the camera. It's early morning mist. November the 3rd. Schlepping into the woods. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, the problem with weekends now is I start at midday. It takes me an hour to get there, so I've really got to leave. I mean, with the buses at about 9:45, so... Sorry, 11:15. Yeah. So I don't get a giant amount of time at the weekends, which is why those videos are going to be fairly short. So years. Yeah, so on the Urban Agogi channel, on the Discord, and there is one, there was a discussion last night about literature and books. And yeah, so Harlequin posted some interesting links to like a library of like the literature of the Western world, which was interesting. And you know, and whilst it would be interesting to have those as an electronic copy to peruse through, if all the electronics in the world suddenly went away, and maybe to peruse through in electronic form. I mean, it's kind of like the top 100 Kindle books, or the top academic books you should read before you die type thing. So there's a lot of Plato and Herodotus and Machiavelli and stuff like that. And yes, those things are useful. And I don't know, quite how to build an EMP shield for, say, a USB stick. There is also an apocalyptic OS that's designed to work on as wide a variety of hardware as possible. So if you're picking through the ruins of human civilization, you could put something together that would be able to run it. So that would be a useful thing. And but what really got my attention, because small and portable is always good. Oh, look at that. That's a nice effect. Small and portable is useful. So that's nice, isn't it? So yeah, let's do the thing. I haven't been on camera in a while. I'm looking rough because it's early in the morning. So I can't remember who pointed out. It may well have been Digital Whiskey or Zoo Echoes or Harlequin, one of them, because they're all getting into a very interesting conversation about books. And one of them pointed out this thing called the Pocket Ref, as in pocket reference, and it was designed to fit in a shirt pocket, and it's supposed to be a reference for all kind of electrical and mechanical stuff. Very handy book indeed, which means you don't have to know this stuff until you have to know this stuff. And apparently in other places other than England, because I've never seen it in England, it's sold in DIY stores. You know, there's lots of things about carpentry and certain joints, and lots of things about engineering and stuff like that. And it's now in its 4th edition. I can't remember the title of the guy, but if you look up Pocket Ref, or put Pocket Ref into Google, I'm sure it'll come up. Or I'll even... No, I'm not going to edit this. You can find it. I will be reviewing it because I bought myself a copy. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about this morning is, it should be fairly obvious to anyone that follows this that actual hard copy books can be better than electronic versions of them. Now there's a lot of stuff that you could put on a Kindle and EM shield it and make sure that you could power it through other means. I mean, all you got to do is figure out how to get 5 volts of electricity, really. And that's a handy thing. It's worth having a few books. And that list is always growing. So I'm going to review the Pocket Ref and let you know. I mean, definitely if you live in the UK, Richard Maybe's Food for Free is definitely a biggie. And if you live anywhere else in the world, the SAS Survival Guide by John Wiseman is, especially in its Collins Gem format, which is, you know, like 5 by 5 inches, so it can fit in a pocket. Because that sort of information, although it does slowly push into your head via osmosis, it was raining yesterday, so it's a bit muddy. There's no substitute for having it to hand, and it will give you a general all-round guide to surviving almost in any environment. There are some environments where it's not possible to survive that easily without going total He-Man on it. There are places in Canada and the Appalachians in America. There's very remote bits of Scotland where it is extremely hard to survive. And while we're on the subject, there is a reason hunter-gatherers work so bloody hard during the year. Similar to what I was talking about, as in the festivals and the things people have celebrated in Northern Europe and the Western Hemisphere, the Northwestern Hemisphere. They have certain things in common because of the weather. And the thing they have in common is, while it's nice weather, you work like a nutter to find preserved food. Find and preserve food, rather. You know, that's all you do if you're a hunter-gatherer. Your whole year is, you know, the whole of the decent weather of the year is spent figuring that stuff out. I go a slightly different way. So yeah, so you can't easily survive on your own as a hunter-gatherer. You know, bear that in mind. You know, there's no way of disappearing into the woods and easily living off the land unless you get your choice of when in the year you do it and your choice of exactly where you're staying. You know, it might be possible in the Caribbean. It's probably possible to just disappear. If you really know what you're doing, it's probably possible to do it in Australia, and it's possible that you could do it in Africa. But in Northern Europe, and that's the reason they've, you know, really locked into religion quite hard, is you've got to work as a team and work from the right point in the year. So ideally, you want to, you know, you could probably do it if you had a wide enough area of woodland to range in and it was autumn, when everything's ready. You know. So yeah, and you'd have to work very, very quickly and very hard for as much of the daylight hours as possible in order to do that. So yeah, it is complicated. That's why we really like our creature comforts. Anyway, that said, so I've ordered a copy of the Pocket Ref, and I want to pass on a tip I've found over the years, and it might seem very obvious and it might not. There are a few reference books I in my opinion, it's worth having. Obviously, if you've got an interest in something, then you'll want that reference book. But if you want just general reference books, because you think I might need to know this if governments around the world seriously drop the ball, then a good way of getting hold of them in paper form is go to Amazon, look up your book, and you need to look at the bottom of the description of the book. They'll tell you the price if you're going to order it from Amazon, and there'll be a little thing there saying new and used from, as in there'll be used books for sale, and it'll give you the lowest possible price. And that will generally mean that you can shave anything from 50% to 75% off the price of your book if you just want to take a look at it. And I'd say with a lot of books it's worth buying them used, and it plugs into my try and buy second hand when you can. because a lot of books get bought by people who then never read them, or they get bought as presents, or people buy whole book collections. So that's what I did. So instead of spending £11 or £12, I spent £4.50. Yay! So I got 2/3 off the price by being prepared to buy it used. And books, generally speaking, people look after books. And generally speaking, the sort of people that buy entire loads of books off people want them in fairly good condition. So you're going to get a reasonable condition book. There might be a few scuffs on it, but to be honest, within a few months of me owning it, there'll be scuffs on it. So never mind. But that's the sort of thing I think I want as paper. And there is an expanded version of it, like the desk reference guide, or desk ref. But yeah, so I'll have a look at that. As I understand it, it's like having an engineer give you advice, pretty much, on how to do pretty much anything. And those are good books too. Another thing I'd heartily recommend, if you can get hold of them, they're quite hard to find sometimes, but the Pears Cyclopedia. They're very good. I don't know if they're available in electronic format, but yeah. Ooh. A 1930s one of those would be good. Purely because it will tell you how to do all the things that people living in more rural areas would want to know. So they've generally got tips on raising chickens, growing food, they've got an almanac, potted history, all kinds of stuff. An atlas, usually some maps, things like that. It's good. And also rules to like about 7 million card games. That'd be another thing I would recommend you put in Project Morlock. I'm with Heinlein on this. If you don't know how to play bridge or some sort of complicated card game or chess, you might want to figure that out, because electricity may be too precious to waste, especially for leisure. So yeah, and I think in the Pears Cyclopedia they had recipes for household detergents and stuff like that. That's always useful, and fertilizers and things. So yeah, books will be very, very handy indeed. I mean, not that they're not handy now, but it is a good idea to have, a small library of how to do things that you don't necessarily want to, invest a huge amount of time in right now, but would like to get familiar with. So yeah, the Pocket Ref will arrive sometime next week, because it's slow as possible post, because I didn't pay any postage, so they can post it however they want. And yeah. So that was just a short thing. I mean, it was a very interesting discussion. That's the cool thing about internet communication, really, and one of the nice things about the Discord. So thank you very much to Kevin is a Geek for setting up the Urban Agoge Discord. If you would like an invitation to it, bear in mind that these are people that will talk about all kinds of crazy stuff. They're an interesting bunch of people. And yeah, so, but they're not going to suffer fools gladly. They never have, because they're largely out of the Rangers audience. So if you've not got a link to the Urban Agoge Discord and you'd like one, send me a message. That's what the comments are for. So yeah, so that's my short ramble and rant about books, and maybe a bit about survival. And whilst it would be nice if everybody could suddenly have a change of heart, and if they do, then great, and if they don't, well, then there's Project Morlock. Just by being in reasonably good shape and understanding how to move around in woodland is going to do you the world of good. Having a few handy bits of survival equipment would be a very good idea. And we need to work on bugging out and staying bugged out. So yeah, we'll do that. Although I am going to try and get some footage from Extinction Rebellion when the dust has settled. I need to start contacting the Manchester branch and seeing about wandering over and having a meet up. But I think their entire focus outside their three main demands is just on the disruption thing, and passing out information about how the world is truly screwed. I think if you've watched one or two of their videos online and you understand their concept, and I believe them, you know, if you're going to peacefully change the way the world does its business, then you need to take extreme measures. And that's why I respect them. I think they're still trying stuff out. And I think you have to disrupt people's lives in order to get them to think about it for a moment. You have to be prepared to be arrested. And that's the civil disobedience that works. Sadly, people saying, oh, why don't you just carry on marching? Because it doesn't do anything. I mean, I just love to be on one of those TV programs just laughing my head off at people when they say, well, you're very disruptive. And you say, well, that's what makes this newsworthy. And if you could all be a bunch of adults about the state of the planet, then we wouldn't have to do it. It would be a shoo thing. We would just do that thing to save the planet, and we're not. So, if you want a planet to live on, some fairly heroic people are getting themselves arrested. So yeah, it would be fun to be on telly, telling Piers Morgan to go fuck himself. But on that happy note, thank you for watching, and do take care.